A lot of the women felt that gay was a male term. I didn't agree with them at the time. It took a lot of women sitting me down and talking to me about where they were coming from for me to start to understand that lesbian was an important term to them, because I assumed, to me, gay was all-inclusive. But then I'm a white male, I found out. So we started looking for another name that would be significant to the community, but not use gay, not use lesbian. So we didn't have people picking at the terminology, and we came up with Lambda. That Lambda was a thing. Of course, people complained because Lambda looks like a phallic symbol, and they complained about that when you had the lambda on it. But we stuck with it, and that's how we got Lambda Pride. Back then, we were still having problems with our permits, get the permitting system. We were, we were still doing fundraising in those days. We went out and would do, we'd sit at the front door to the bars, and they'd charge a cover charge for a night, and the cover charge would go to help pay for the event, because it was a free event. And we had very small fees to get into the parade. I mean, they were like $10 or something. They were real small back in those days. And then of course we had to set up the logistics. Let's see, 81 would have been right at the beginning of the festival. So we were trying to find a site to hold the festival in. Now, I don't remember the year. I think, was it 81, the first festival? Okay, so the committee talked about how well Los Angeles was doing, because they had their festival for a few years, and we knew that they were, the money was coming in, and we were looking for a way to get money, because it was one of the dreams that someplace down the road that we might actually make enough money to be able to give money back to the community and not have to go out and keep doing fundraising. That was one of the things that we kind of, wished off a star kind of thing. Knowing it wasn't going to happen right then, because we were just scrambling to make enough money to pay the deposits for things, hoping that things came off. So those were probably the biggest thing. And then, of course, there's always internal disagreements, I'll call them, just to be nice. A group of people would come in, be in charge of the committee. They'd give their all. The second year, they'd come back and they'd try to give their all, and they'd burn out. And then a new group of people would come in, and this seemed to happen every couple of years. And so you had a big personality change every few years. And some years I was agreeing with the personalities, and other years we didn't agree. And so there were, on my viewpoint, there were hard times, but that's probably, and it was, I think Lambda Pride was also a time when there was a real, when 1980, when the march changed to a parade and the women left, there was a scramble for identity. As to have a committee that was in charge, and that that was all they did, that they weren't just a group of people that came together from other things. So I think it was kind of a growth time in those years. And it was hard, because you have to remember that the committees and the board of directors are all volunteers. Nobody got paid. They still don't get paid. The board doesn't. So it is still a volunteer organization. So you didn't have somebody with like an ED who could direct things and keep the continuity. Well, I wasn't here when the decision was made to cancel the festival. It was done while I was at a conference representing Pride. And I came back and found out that the committee had decided to cancel the festival. If I remember right, it had to do with with money. That the board didn't feel that it could come up with the money to pay for the festival. Seem to understand is that Pride is a person unto itself, and Pride doesn't care what the committee does. Pride will happen. And so an ad hoc committee from the community, which I understand you're going to talk to some of them, decided that they were going to put on they were going to put on a festival. It might not be as big and grandiose as we would, but they were going to do it. So I can remember going down to the WCPC with my shovel, because the WCPC was the 4 lots next to it, and they were overgrown with weeds. There were fences between that had to be taken down. Ramps were built to connect them, and we rented a bulldozer to bulldoze flat the dirt. And then it was dust. There was nothing but dust. That's why it was always called the Dust Bowl. But I remember going down and offering to help scrape the weeds off the asphalt and having people glare at me, because I was on the committee that canceled the event. Even though I didn't have anything to do with the cancellation, I was still a part of that committee. And I felt that it was important that I make the statement that this was not something I agreed with, that I felt that I should help. And I can remember, seeing Ann Gardwood down there shoveling stuff too. And it was a pretty good event. They made a profit. And then the following year, there was a big discussion on who was going to put on the festival, because now there were 2 committees.